When it comes to the golf majors, we always want to bring on Zack Price, good friend of mine, betting analyst for Fanatic Sportsbook. If you are looking to bet on the Open, this is a segment you're going to want to stick through with that. Good morning, Zach.
Goody, great to be here. You say good morning,
yeah,
but right now in Scotland, I don't think it's morning. I think it's afternoon, and we've got to get into the mindset that we're in Scotland, we're at the Open, and we're going to get ready to play some bets on this wonderful tournament, which is 152 years old, by the way.
Wow.
Just a couple of years younger than you, Eric.
Zach, we didn't bring you on to tell jokes and talk about time zones, okay? Let me handle all of that. You just tell everybody the best bets to make. We know that it's going to be your usual cast of characters. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Aberg, Bryson DeChambeau, Morikawa. But you and I spoke on the phone yesterday, and unlike the Masters, with what you told me, it's far more, excuse the pun, open at the Open when it comes to betting, isn't it?
Absolutely true, Eric. I got my fourth text of the year from you because I only get four, one for each major.
That's
Zach,
right.
Who should I bet on?
That should tell you how I feel about you.
And the Masters is extremely predictive. I know I came on your show to talk about the Masters. It's an invitational. And so there's only about 70 golfers, 80 golfers that come to the Masters, a bunch of amateurs, a bunch of special invites, and then, the top players in the world. Well, the Open Championship it's truly an Open Championship versus an invitational. Anyone can sign up and try to qualify. You get random names. You get players literally from all over the world. And the ball just bounces different at a links course than it does at like a perfectly manicured Augusta National, where most of the holes are right to left. We play it every single year at the Masters. So you're going to see the top guys at the top every single year at the Masters. Now, the Open Championship, wide open. They play a different course. They have a rotation, but we're here at Troon. They've played 10 majors, 10 Open Championships here at Troon. A wonderful history. And like you just mentioned, you're going to see a lot of long shots at the Open Championship. So, if you just look at the last 10, 15 years, Brian Harmon won last year. He was 150-1 heading into the tournament. Cam Smith was one of the top players in the world. He won at St. Andrews. He was 20-1. Morikawa the year before, 40-1. Shane Lowry won in his homeland of Ireland, 70-1. We can go back and Darren Clark, he won it at 200-1. Louis Oosthuizen, 250-1. I think Zach Johnson won it not even that long ago at St. Andrews, 110-1. So you have to be ready to look down the board. You can't just grab a favorite because so much can happen at the Open Championship. It's very difficult to win.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about this championship is that you need a roster to kind of read the leaderboard every now and then. Inevitably, at some point in the first 2 days, someone that you have never heard of, even as a golf fan, is going to lead this tournament. I find that to be absolutely fascinating. Well, you've already set it up, Zach. So who are the guys that we probably should be looking at that are beyond the marquee? Guys whose games are set up well for a links-style challenge. And we don't know what the weather is going to be like. You never know what the weather is going to be like. But who are some of the guys that jump out at you?
Well, you hit on so many great things there, Bruce. We don't know what the weather's going to be like. And at the Open Championship, everybody tees off on number one. And so you have guys going off at 6 a.m. And then, in Scotland this time of year, it stays really bright for a long time. So you have guys going off way in the afternoon, and you can get a wave where it's just super windy, and you can get a wave where there's not much wind at all. So the reason why you're seeing guys you've never heard of before, and I'm sure guys I've never heard of before, and I'm studying this stuff day in and day out, are going to pop up on the leaderboard, is because you just get a pocket of players who come in where the weather's more beneficial to them than other players. So, guys that are play really well in the wind, and I'll give you some names. Some, we know all these guys, but, some are at the top of the board, like Rory. He's 8.5-1 at Fanatic Sportsbook to win this thing. John Rahm, who we haven't heard from much in the last year since he went to live, he's 25-1. He has a really great, he has a really great Open Championship record. He plays great on the links. I mean, he finished second last year, and a couple of years ago he finished third. So I expect him to step up his game, even though, he's been playing on the Live Tour. I mean, golf is golf. Another guy, a long shot that you might want to grab is Jason Day at 110 to 1. He also is a great open player who's great in the wind. Adam Scott, 65 to 1. How about Shane Lowry? I mentioned him before, from Ireland. This guy excels in the wind. I mean, the worse the weather gets, it seems like the better he plays and the more likely he is to rise on the leaderboard. He's going off at Fanatics at 50 to 1. So those are a couple of guys right there that play extremely well when it gets windy.
You mentioned with the Masters, and we are talking with Zack Price. He is a betting expert with Fanatics. His specialty is golf. Another specialty of yours is basketball. Once we get into basketball season, we'll certainly bring you on more, which means I'll get a hold of you 5 times a year. Does that work? 5 times? Well, it's 4 times with the 4 majors, and then the 1 time with basketball. Does that work for you?
I'll get my token goodie text, in October. Who do we like for Rookie of the Year? Who's MVP?
Right.
But with the Nuggets and how they ended the season, it's July. I don't even want to think about that. Right. Although the Olympic basketball is coming up, goodie. Every 4 years, I think I might get a text from you in July about basketball.
That's right.
We can talk about that.
Yeah. But you're in Denver. You need to take me out for lunch more.
Well,
it's on you, Zach.
It's on you, Zach.
It's on you, Zach.
Well, you're the betting expert. You're the guy who wins all the time. I don't. But let's get back to the Open. When it comes to the Masters, you said in theory it's a little bit more predictable. But you have something on Fanatics, and you taught me this. Winner without is explain to everybody what winner without means. And this year it is Scheffler and Rory. Is this the type of major where you could really do well when you bet that winner without?
Yeah, so I know this is a market you love because sometimes it seems like Scheffler's never going to lose, and you're only going to get about 5 to 1 odds on him if you bet him and he does win. And 5 to 1 odds to win an Open championship to me is absolutely crazy. So, and he might go ahead and do it. And if he does, you're going to win 5 to 1 odds, and all your other bets on all these long shots I mentioned are going to lose. So there's a market winner without, and this week it's without Scheffler and McIlroy. And McIlroy, he's just such a phenomenal Open championship player. Again, 8.5 to 1 to go off. So what this bet is you basically get to bet the entire field without these two guys. So if Scheffler wins or if Rory wins, you actually can still pick a guy who maybe comes in second to Scheffler or second to McIlroy or maybe third to Scheffler and McIlroy, and you still get these great odds to win the tournament. So if you take a guy, I'll just throw a random name out there, Victor Hovland. You think he's going to win, but you're afraid of those two guys, maybe just battling him out at the end, which has happened to Hovland a couple times. He finished 4th a couple years ago. He was in the last group, but he didn't close the deal. But if he comes in second to, let's say, Scheffler, you can cash this bet called winner without because we're not going to count Scheffler and McIlroy. We're only going to look at who finishes the best in this tournament aside from those guys. And they might not finish in the top 2, in which case you're betting on the winner. But the odds are still extremely, extremely good. And in fact, before we move on from that, I want to say Fanatics has 2 markets for this year, which I've never seen before. They also have winner without McIlroy, Scheffler, and Xander Schauffele, and Ludwig Oberg. So
wow.
That's 4 players you can eliminate if you think Schauffele and Oberg might win. But I think the move here would be Scheffler, Rory, cut those guys out, pick a couple, still go with a bunch of your long shots, maybe some medium shots, and take a stab at this thing, and you don't have to, get all huffy-puffy if Scheffler starts running away with it.
A guy who we haven't really talked about yet, and it's interesting, is Bryson DeChambeau, who's playing about as well as anyone right now in the world. Is it a links thing? Is it I guess he's still on the board as a top 10 favorite, but is he?
So, Bryson, we all know what his strength is. His strength is he hits the ball longer than anybody, maybe like anybody who's ever played the game, basically. And in a link-style course like this, distance is not like what you need. In fact, of the guys I mentioned who have won a bunch of these Open championships with long shot, Herman last year, for example, is an extremely short hitter. I think Goody could even outdrive Herman.
Really? You got to
Zack
take a shot at me at 8:30 in the morning? Really?
Well,
Is that what our relationship has come to?
I've seen this guy, Bruce, in person, Brian Harmon, and you would never know him walking down the street.
Right.
I mean, Zach Johnson, he won the Open at St. Andrews. Again, he's extremely short hitter. And so this course is like 7,200 yards, which is like equivalent to your average course, whereas the Masters is like 7,900, or the U.S. Open course is 7,800. This is 7,200. So if Bryson's going to win this thing, yeah, there's going to be some opportunities. They do have a 600-yard par 5. But he's just going to have to play great golf, and it's not going to be because he's blasting the ball. And you know what? He can play great golf, and he can do it. So he is going to be a top favorite, but his huge advantage is going to be limited. Now, I will say this while we're mentioning DeChambeau. If he wins this tournament, and I know Scheffler has won 6 already this year, including the Masters, I think DeChambeau's year would be player of the year because he already has won a major, and he's finished like in the top 5 or 6 in the other 2, and then he would win this one. I mean, this is a year for the record book. So really going to keep an eye on him this week and see if he can close the deal at the Open.
Only have about 30 seconds left. Tell us why people need to sign up with Fanatics.
Yes, look, Fanatics has the best. It's the most rewarding sportsbook out there. Every bet you make, you're going to get fan cash back. And that fan cash you can turn into a bonus bet and place another bet on a golfer you like, or you can use it on Fanatics.com, which has all the apparel, the collectibles, and of course, like I mentioned, you can bet with the fan cash. You can do whatever you want with it. So the most rewarding sports book out there for sure.
I think it's a great sports book. I think the only problem with Fanatics is if you know somebody who works there and you foolishly bring them live on your radio show, that guy will take personal shots at you. Zach, thanks so much for your time, pal.
It's always a great time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
See, Zack Price, he is so good at what he does.
Sure is.
And I hope you listen to what he had to say if you're going to be betting on the Open. Coming up after the break, we're going to continue this conversation as the shots that Zach took at me is nothing compared to the return fire Tiger Woods gave to Colin Montgomery. That's next.
Come on and take